Our next speaker is Julie O'Connor. Julie is the Director of Caring Activists Against Fur. She's also the Regional Legislative District Director of the League of Humane Voters of New Jersey, and she's the Vice President of the Humane Education Committee. Julie is a very active anti-fur activist in New York and New Jersey, and she recently completed her PhD in education. Welcome, Julie.
While we're getting my presentation ready, I'd like to thank Rosa and her organization, the Anti-Fur Society, for today and the invitation to speak here. Getting a little nervous. I hope the presentation's on. I did want to just also, good. All right. I also want to just a special shout out to Doris, who just spoke. She underestimates her resume. She has just filed a motion against the Saddle River deer hunt in New Jersey, and she's really a rock star, so lots of questions on that stuff we can go to Doris. We work together at the League of Humane Voters in New Jersey, so when I'm done, please come out and see us, and we'll learn about how we can get more active for animals. So I'm the last gig before the lunch break, so I'll get started. Okay, next slide. First, I'll talk a little bit about CAF. Oh, looks like my slide's screwed up, sorry. So we started in February 2002. We're coming up on a 17-year anniversary this season. Of the many victories we've seen against fur, a few we've been particularly involved with is the decision for Burlington Coat Factory to go fur-free. And Lord & Taylor removing its fur salon years back. Now Lord & Taylor may not even be at that location anymore, so we're really happy to see less fur in the marketplace, and that'll lead to less of it on the street. What I have there is some actions you could take, wearing anti-fur messaging, and then as you see in that is a picture of our protests. We have a large video screen at some of them, and I always encourage you to go out and do some fur protesting. So we decided to mix it up a little bit. We started fundraising to place anti-fur billboards in the area, and we find them to be like a 24-hour protest, month-long protest. And I actually get email inquiries. We started this last year. I get email inquiries from people driving by them. So they're working. It's really great. I mean, that on billboard, he's remarkable. He's lovely. And so please visit our GoFundMe link on the website, Shame on Fur. If you $10, whatever it gets us to get more billboards up through the season. I want to say that as a veteran activist, I attended the first Fur-Free Friday with Trans Species Unlimited in the 1980s. There's a couple of people that go that far back with me. So I know about anti-fur activism, and I'm very excited for the newer actions against Canada Goose, and I think that's a great shot of adrenaline and what things like Rachel was talking about. It's a really, I like the new perspectives and trying to do different things with activism. With London Fashion Week and Burberry is going fur-free, like just a week back, I really think the sky's the limit, so I think we've got to keep it up. So, that picture's supposed to be a little bit down. I think it might be the way it's showing. So the quote says, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. And that's the theme of my speech today. If you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. The problem is that many of you are good activists if you don't have the energy or the interest to also be involved in the political process. So here's our disconnect. Men like these make policies that affect animals. To be a good animal activist, you have to get politically involved for animals. have a lot of friends. This is a photo of one of our demos. I have a lot of friends who voted for President Trump, and I know they had personal convictions for doing so, and I don't judge. Everyone comes to the voting booth with their own reasons. But I want to be very clear, some of the people who supported this president really love animals. However, President Trump's policies have not turned out to be great for animals. This is the Safari Club International. There's some of their logos there. They really do have Trump's ear. The Safari Club International promotes trophy hunting. And as I was researching this, I found these random money connections. So for example, on point number 1, Safari Club International is partially financed by the oil and gas industry, and they take positions that align with the oil lobby, and they have a vested interest in these conservation fights. And then, you know, Grover Norquist, who's the anti-tax guy that the Republican politicians have been bowing down to, he's on the NRA board of directors for 18 years. So you start finding these weird connections, and if you look, the Safari Club International and the NRA, they are, you know, defending the importation of elephants in Zimbabwe. They all, you know, from Zimbabwe, they also have the lifting the, you know, granting permits for lion imports. So they're pretty bad actors. So I'm going to read some of this. Basically, you could say policy is made from money. One side is worse. When voting, you should look who's NRA endorsed because they're not likely to be friends for the animals. Many times, the policy comes from who is funding the campaign. And I want to read that because that is a quote from the Safari Club International president. His name is Babiz. And this is a quote, talked about many great groups who are working to make a difference. The NRA, National Shooting Sports Foundation, and the Congressional Sportsman Foundation, to name a few. He concluded, we need to form alliances and speak with one voice to address the issues. So the Congressional Sportsman Foundation, that's the one that should get your attention. These are members of Congress who receive money from the hunting interests. So look up their endorsements, you know, for fun. So unfortunately, right now, because we did not fund this presidential campaign or the campaign of those in power in Congress, we don't vote as a powerful bloc with one voice. This administration is currently listening to the other side. I've narrowed this down to 2 main problems for animals currently with regards to federal policy. You might say, well, there's tons more, but there's really 2 that I think are the main takeaways. First problem, Zinke. Okay, Zinke is the Secretary of the Interior. He has ties to hunting groups, oil groups. Just a week ago, this is from the Department of Interior's website, their announcement. Secretary Zinke expands hunting and fishing opportunities at 30 of America's national wildlife refuges. Because without access to our public lands, like national wildlife refuges, many hunters would have nowhere to go, said Secretary Zinke. And there he is next to a dead bear. I can go on about Zinke, but seriously, just Google Zinke, and he is doing something awful any day you decide to Google it. Problem number 2, I'm going to read it because it's a little bit small. The Animal Welfare Act violations are still hidden from us. Groups can get FOIA requests, but they may take months, and sometimes the groups have to actually threaten to sue to get these documents. I'm going to read that. On February 2017, shortly after the new administration took office, the United States Department of Agriculture, without prior notice, removed from its website thousands of Animal Welfare Act and Horse Protection Act inspection and enforcement records. These were public records, many containing descriptions of animal neglect and suffering at puppy mills, roadside zoos, research laboratories, and cruelty and abuse by trainers and owners of Tennessee walking horses and related breeds. The records have been available to the public in a searchable online database for years, and their removal made it impossible for the public and organizations to learn which facilities were failing to comply with our federal government's animal protection laws. Now, this had been a wish of the USDA in previous administration, that it was not allowed. So again, the politician matters a lot, and that's what I want to keep driving home. While we're getting some wonderful victories with the pressures that we're placing on retailers, we're getting more vegan options and banning fur, I hope I am impressing upon you that you must be politically involved in order to help animals more fully. I suggested doing a Google alert with the word animals. You're just going to become more informed what gets knocked way later in the paper and on the internet. You'll know about it because part of the whole thing is suppressing the information about animals. I mean, how many people in this room know about what's going on with pigs during the floods with the North Carolina hurricanes, but people out there probably don't. Also, as you see, I just put up a link with care2.com. It basically has 10 pro-animal bills that are listed on the link. They just come from looking it up on the internet.
When you say Google Alert, you can set up a Google Alert for
Yeah, there's an option. Thanks for asking. So if you go to Google, there's a thing about putting an alert. Let's say your particular interest is horses. You just want to follow everything with the news that's going to be happening with horses, any sort of thing you should write about, a public comment period. You can even just put in horses. So you'll get that in your feed. Thank you. And by the way, just the reason I mentioned about oil and gas, other than the fact that drilling obviously harms animals, there's a big connection between horses in our wild area and then the fact they're trying to eradicate them because they want more access to those lands. So it's all connected. Right? Very in-depth model. Okay. And this is what I'm But Julie, things suck no matter who you vote for. And you can make a case for that. You can argue for that. But false equivalency is our enemy. It is worse when the wrong person gets in, and it can get better when the right person gets in, or at least stay the same for a while. Currently, and so League of Humane Voters in New Jersey, that's the group that I'm associated with. It says currently we're fighting to end trapping and the black bear hunt. We're also trying to ban wild animal services throughout the state. And I'm going to give you just a quick story. We have a governor, Governor Murphy, who promised to end the bear hunt. He has not done that yet. But the other candidate promised to continue the bear hunt. So this guy at least has to deal with us and the pressure that we will continue to bring because he knows we voted for him. We have a seat at that table, more than we would have if the other side got it. And we are continuing to extract that pressure. So please become a member if you live in New Jersey with the League of Humane Voters of New Jersey. And by the way, once I'm done and it's the lunch break, I have the very specific actions of what you can take on the table. Okay, and if you live in New York, the next slide, these are two groups. There's the League of Humane Voters of New York, and there's also the Voters for Animal Rights, vfar.org and LOHVNY.org. Those are, at any given time, you're going to see a bill that they're trying to pass. So in conclusion, helping or hurting animals, it can be found in both parties. But at this point in history, Republicans tend to be worse for animals on a national level. It's not always true in local politics, actually. We have some pretty bad local Democrats that you can find that are bad for animals. but nationally, this is where we're at. But that's why we have to organize and become informed voters, and luckily we have those groups that can help us. Vote for animals and become active for animals, because the protest and the politics, it goes hand in hand. And my last bullet should say, all the protests in the world don't matter unless you have a seat at the table. So I would like to have you take your votes responsibly and follow up on the political actions you learn about today, whether it be the declawing bill or the bear hunt or the trapping bills, which we're talking about in New Jersey, because the animals are counting on you. Thank you very much.